Hello everyone, welcome to today's news starter. Let us begin with a practice question for prelims. Take a look at this question. If you had read today's newspaper, you would understand how much importance today's newspaper was giving to tuberculosis. So that much importance should be given by you also, because India is considered to be the tuberculosis capital of the world, and we do spend too much of money, capital, and everything to control tuberculosis, but we are really not uh, close to control the spread of tuberculosis. It has been a menace since long time. And we have multiple schemes to control tuberculosis, to prevent tuberculosis completely. So this is the reason we need to take tuberculosis to be very serious. So three statements are provided here. How many of the above statement is or are considered, is or are correct? So three statements. The first statement, the theme for World TB Day 2024 was, yes, we can end TB, which is the correct statement. World TB Day theme was, yes, we can end TB. So try to remember this. Indonesia has the highest number of TB patients, which is a wrong statement because India has the highest number of TB patients. About 1 in 4 TB patients all around the world is an Indian. Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. So this is the flagship scheme to prevent tuberculosis in the country. It aims to accelerate the country's progress towards TB elimination by 2030 is not the right option here. It is 2025. So how many of the above statement is correct? Just one statement is correct. That is statement one. So try to read all the schemes related to tuberculosis. There is Nikshay portal. There is a scheme called Nikshay Mitra, and there is another scheme called Nikshay Poshan Abhiyan. So try to go through everything and try to remember the significances and the importance of each and every scheme. Let's go to the topic. Maritime Anti-Piracy Act 2022. Why this act is very important for this year? This act was passed in 2022, but this act is very important in 2024 because in the recent times, in Yemen, the war is going on and the Houthis are conducting the war and they are engaging in piracy also. And the piracy incidents along the Horn of Africa, that region, and in Western African countries have also increased. And India has been taking this issue very seriously. There have been a lot of successful successful operations against piracy in the recent times. So we need to consider piracy very seriously, and this is the reason this particular act is important. And the Naval Chief of India has told that the Anti-Piracy Act is helping us very much in controlling the piracy menace all over the world. So what are all the major things which are provided in Anti-Piracy Act? We need to study that. So it talks about prevention of maritime piracy and prosecution also. Not just prevention. If you capture the pirates, how to prosecute them. That is also discussed here. It will apply to all parts of the sea, adjacent to and beyond the limits of exclusive economic zone. So this point is extremely important. Exclusive economic zone is from the coastline of the country to 200 nautical miles. So even if a piracy incident is happening in the high seas, that is after 200 nautical mile, even then the Indian Navy can take care of it. Indian Navy has the power to control them. So this is very important. Because of passing of this bill, we are following each and every provisions that is provided in United Nations Convention on Law of Sea. So UN clause is a very important convention. Because of passing this act, we are trying to adhere with the provisions of United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea. So this point is important. In this act, we have provided a proper definition of piracy. Earlier, a proper definition was not there. Now we have provided a proper definition. What exactly is piracy? An illegal act of violence, detention, or destruction committed against a ship. It doesn't restrict itself to ship. So this point is very important. It doesn't restrict itself to ship. It talks about aircraft or an individual person or a property for private purposes by a crew or passengers of a private ship or aircraft. So if a state has done something, it will not be considered as piracy. If private individuals or a group of individuals act against another ship or another property or another aircraft and try to destroy it, try to loot it, that will be considered as piracy. What is the penalty for this? Very serious penalty, imprisonment for life or death. So it can be extended up to imprisonment for life or death also if such piracy acts cause any death. And offenses will be considered extraditable. So this point is also very important. For example, if certain pirates from Nigeria has conducted some piracy and we have captured it. Now, if the Nigerian government tells us that they need these people back so that they can try them in their own land, then we will extradite these people. So people who are engaged in piracy is considered to be very serious. It is an extraditable offense. The penalty can go until life imprisonment or death penalty also. The central government, in consultation with Chief Justice of the concerned High Court, can provide the power to Sessions Court. So the central government can tell that these piracy related incidents can be investigated and can be tried by a sessions court itself. The court will not have jurisdiction over offences committed on a foreign ship. So this point is very important. We can try any piracy act in our own jurisdiction, in our own court system, if the ship belongs to us. If the pirates have done anything against a ship that is Indian in nature, if it is against a United States ship or Australian ship, we cannot try them. The Australians or the Americans have to try them. So these are all the basics. So try to remember the provisions for mains examination and prelims examination. Both this is very important. So this topic is extremely important for prelims examination. One thing because it is related to election commission and it is a very significant move by the election commission. So these points are very important. What the election commission has told us, it has extended vote from home for the upcoming LS, that is the Lok Sabha election, to several different sections of the society. Most important of them are persons with disability and senior citizens with 85 plus of age. With 40 percentage disability, 40 percentage or plus of disability, persons with 40 percentage or plus of disability, and elderly citizen or senior citizens with 85 plus age will get vote from home options. Those who opt for this year are not eligible to vote directly at the poll. So if they opt for this, they will have to vote from home only. They cannot go to the polling station. It is not the first time. It has already been tried. Voting from home has already been tried. So for this, what we will do is a form 12D is there. A form 12D has to be filled by these people and they have to give it to the assistant returning officer before the election itself. So this assistant returning officer will check it and will approve it. This form has to be filled and submitted within 5 days of notification of electoral dates. The electoral dates have been notified already by the election commission. So from that 5 days is the time period. Within that they have to submit form 12D. So electors are required to deposit the form to the booth level officers or the assistant returning officer, a problematic requirement for people with disability. So this particular point has been criticized by several sections because You are telling people of above 85 years of age or people with 40% disability to come to these officers and provide it. Why don't we enable a online filling of the form? So that has not been done by the election commission. It should be done in the future dates. So once filed, what happens is during the poll, two polling officials accompanied by a videographer and a security person will visit the elector's home and oversee the postal ballot voting process. Two people will be there. Along with that, a videographer will also be there. They will capture the polling so that there will not be any problem in future. Station Shiv Shakti. Station Shiv Shakti, again, this is very important because it is related to space and it is related to Chandrayaan mission of India, and India has named a particular place on earth with an Indian name. So this entire topic is very important. The the International Astronomical Union Working Group for Planetary System Nomenclature. So the International Astronomical Union is already there. They have a working group. The name of the working group is Planetary System Nomenclature, to give names to planetary systems, planetary bodies, or places that are in different planets. So they have approved the name Tesho Shiv Shakti for the landing site of Chandrayaan's Vikram lander. Chandrayaan had carried a lander, which is the Vikram lander. The place in which the Vikram landed, it is to be named as Shiv Shakti. So the International Astronomical Union maintain a gazetteer. It is called as Gazetteer of Planetary Nomenclature. It contains all the details about the names of topographic and albedo features on planets and satellites. So all the names, what rules we have to follow, how the name will be given, all these things are provided. So one specific and significant point here is there is International Astronomical Union has provided a Rule 9. In this Rule 9, it is told that no names having political, military, or religious significance will be used. Political, military, or religious significance will not be used. Even if you are giving any name of a political figure, it should not be of someone who is from 20th century or 21st century. It should be of someone who lived prior to 18th century only. So that whatever name we are providing, it should not represent anything militarily or politically or religiously. So a lot of people were asking, how come Shiv Shakti is not religious? It is not religious because it is mythological in nature. In according to the ancient Indian mythology, the term Shiva represents masculine and Shakti represents feminine. So it talks about the duality of nature, two different aspects of nature. So it is mythological in nature, it is philosophical in nature, it is not religious in nature, and that's why we have given the name and International Astronomical Union has accepted it. Mumps disease for prelims very important. Even though it is not a very deadly disease, but its spread is a point of concern. So what exactly is mumps? It is a acute viral infection which mostly affects children, not adults. And in the recent times, this is very important because in the state of Kerala, it has been spreading. So, about the basics of mumps, it is a self-limiting disease. It will not spread to a greater extent like a pandemic. Uh, it is self-limiting in nature. It is airborne, spreads through air, viral disease, and where a person who is affected by mumps will have severe amount of fever, severe amount of headache, and the most important and significant feature of mumps disease is the salivary glands of the people will swell. So both the sides of the face will be swollen completely. So this is the significant feature, and it will take around 3 to 4 weeks to recover completely. So there is no specific treatment required. Normal treatment which you give for a person who is affected by fever is enough. With time, it will recover. Patient recovers with rest and symptomatic management in about 2 weeks. The most important point here is it can be prevented easily with vaccine, but however, in India's universal immunization program, we have not included mumps vaccine. The reason is simple. we provide vaccine for mostly deadly diseases. We do not provide vaccine for normal viral infections or bacterial infections, which may not end up killing a lot of people. So this is the reason we have not included it. But in future, if possible, we can include the mumps vaccine also. Captive elephants transfer or transport rules 2024. Recently, the government has passed some certain rules, and you need to remember it because elephant is considered to be a keystone species in India. If it were some other normal species, we would not have discussed it. But because it is related to elephant, which is a keystone species, and we have a certain project by Ministry of Environment, that is Project Elephant, which talks about elephant conservation, promoting elephant corridor, preventing human-animal conflict, etc. So elephant conservation is very important. Certain important points you need to know. Elephant comes under Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. So any species that is mentioned in Schedule 1 cannot be killed, cannot be hunted, cannot be traded for commercial value also. It can be transferred or translocated for special purposes such as education and scientific research. And if there is a requirement to manage the population, for example, in a particular place, the number of elephants has increased to a greater extent. In a certain place, the number of elephants has reduced to a greater extent, then we need to transfer the elephant. So this point is extremely important. Here, the most important problem in India is elephants are used for commercial purposes also. For example, uh, using, I mean, making elephant as a domestic animal in certain households, in certain royal families, or using it for religious purposes, uh, temple elephants for processions, etc. So what exactly is captive elephant? It comes under a special category. All these provisions may not apply to captive elephants because of historical reasons, religious reasons, we have kept a separate category called as captive elephants. But the most important point which you need to understand here is even for captive elephants, we cannot do trade. We cannot sell it for commercial use. We can use it for certain reasons, such as keeping it at home like a domestic animal or using it for religious purposes in temples. We cannot collect money out of it. We cannot try to get profit out of it. This is not the means. So, two important provisions the new rules has brought in. One is when you are transferring an elephant within the state from one place to another. Second one, when you are transferring an elephant out of the state. So what are the significant provisions? When you are transferring an elephant within a state, the elephant's health will be ratified by a veterinarian first. And then the deputy conservator of forest, he has to establish that the animal's current habitat and the future habitat are suitable. So, for example, if at present there is an elephant which is living in grassland, and when this elephant has to be transferred to some other place, will there be enough amount of grasslands and food and everything there? So these two habitats has to be studied. The deputy conservator of forest will study this. First, a veterinarian will check for the health. They will check if the health of the animal is perfect. Then the deputy conservator of forest will check both the habitats, and after that, the most important point, Chief Wildlife Warden. He will check all the details and he will have to provide the permission. Here, he can approve or reject the proposal. So, if he approves, it will be transferred. If not, it will not be transferred. If the animal has to be transferred outside the state, in such case, what will we do? Genetic profile of the elephant has to be registered with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change so that we will know whether this elephant is surviving in the right way in other state also. So all the other things that are mentioned here will come here also. Every provision that is mentioned in transferring within a state will be followed when we are transferring it outside a state too. Apart from that, one important point is genetic profile of the elephant will be registered. Other than this, both the states government has to approve it. So once it is done, we will be able to take it out. One important pointer which you can use in mains, if you have received a question related to tuberculosis, you can use this fact. The World Health Organization has recently told that India has reduced its TB incidence by 60%, 16 percentage, 16 percentage since 2015 to 2022. Apart from that, it has reduced its mortality rate also by 18 percentage. But even then, even today, India is considered to be the tuberculosis capital of the world. So we need to take care of it. We need to do vigorous health measures to overcome this situation. So that will be all for today. All the best. Study well. Let's meet tomorrow.